This video is a brief introduction on how to navigate through the course. If you've never taken an online course before, this may be helpful to you to watch this video so you can get oriented with how Blackboard works at DBU. So on the left-hand side of the screen is your navigation menu. If you've never been in the course before, you probably should go to the Begin Here section. I have an introductory video that talks about the class, as well as some information that might be helpful. So how to succeed in this class. It talks about a sample study schedule and some tips as far as studying. I also have a frequently asked questions page here because I do get a lot of kind of similar questions each semester. So take a look through that before you email me. If you email me and ask me a question I've already answered, I may just tell you to check the FAQ section or tell you to check the syllabus or wherever else it is that I might have already posted the answer to your question. Now, the other area that's going to be important is going to be under the announcements. The announcements are how I'll communicate with the class. This first announcement I posted has to do with the lab manual, which this is a common question that students have, is how the labs work in an online class. I am going to have a separate video on the labs, so I'm not going to go into that now, but you do need to have the lab manual in addition to the textbook to do this class successfully. The announcements, I will post them. I'll try to post reminders about exams and things, especially the first few weeks of class, so that you remember when deadlines are going to be occurring. Remember that during kind of the first 2 weeks of class, there aren't any deadlines for anything until that second week, and that's because students are being added or dropped to the class, and I don't want to have a deadline that occurs before a student gets added to the class where they don't have time to complete the assignment. Now, after the first 2 weeks, from that point forward, the deadline for all of the assignments is going to be midnight on Saturday. The reason I do that is because I'm not going to work on Sunday, and I really don't want you to either. So the deadline for each of the weekly assignments is going to be due on Saturday. Now, I do post the assignments typically at least 1 week ahead of time. So if you do need to work ahead, you certainly can. So you'll have a good 1 to 2 weeks to get everything done. You can see the course schedule. If you click on that link, you can get to the course schedule for the semester. So for this summer session, you can see it's divided into 10 weeks because we have a 10-week long summer session. And then the date for each of the weeks is listed over to the side. So for all of the assignments for these first 2 weeks, the deadline is going to be June 14th at midnight, basically. From that point forward, all of the assignments for week 3 would be due by midnight on the 21st. All the assignments for week 4 would be due by midnight on the 28th. And I don't accept any late work. Now, I do drop your lowest quiz grades, your lowest lecture quiz, lab quiz, and also lab assignment grade. I do know that sometimes things happen and you just don't get it done. So I will drop the lowest grade in those 3 categories, but I'm not going to accept any late work unless something catastrophic happens. So if you're hospitalized, if you have a major life event, then email me about it, but otherwise you really do need to get these things done on time. There just isn't enough time in the summer session to get caught back up if you get behind. So for that reason, after those first 2 weeks, the deadline is going to be at the end of the week for everything. Now on the course schedule, you'll notice that it's kind of divided into different categories. Under the lecture category, it will list the chapters in the textbook that you're responsible for working through. In this online class, you have to do a lot of work on your own. I will have study guides that I'll show you in a minute for each of the chapters to kind of help you work through that. And you'll have a quiz. Every week that we don't have a true exam, you'll have a quiz over the lecture material. So in week 1, there's going to be a quiz over chapters 1 and 2. For week 2, there's a quiz over 3 and 4. For week 3, there's a quiz over the 3 chapters that are covered that week, so 5 through 7. But then notice that here under week 5, where we're going to have our midterm exam, you don't have a quiz that week because we already have the exams. There's no reason to have a quiz. And then at the end of the class, when you've got your final exam, over kind of the second half of the material for the semester, there won't be a quiz that week either. But other than those 2 weeks, other than week 5 and week 10, there will be a lecture quiz each week over the assigned material, and that should be a closed note quiz. You shouldn't use any outside assistance to help you take it. The labs this semester, we have a set number of labs we have to work through in the 10 weeks that we have. So for some of these weeks, you're going to have 2 lab assignments that you've got to get done. So for example, week 1, there are 2 lab assignments. There's a measurement lab and then there's a microscope lab. For each of the lab assignments, there's an associated quiz that you take after you've submitted the lab assignment. And I'll talk more about that once we have the video on the lab sessions. There will also be a discussion board each week. The only exception to the labs and the discussion boards are the weeks of the midterm and the final. So for the midterm and the final, you won't have any labs that you have to get done, and you won't have any discussions that you have to do either. And I try to do that so you've got time to actually study and prepare for the midterm and the final. Unfortunately, I still have to assign some material because otherwise we just wouldn't make it through all the chapters in 10 weeks. But at least you've got a little bit of a break as far as the discussions and the labs go. The discussion boards will be graded according to a rubric after the first week. The first week for class introductions is a completion grade, so as long as you do it, you'll get full credit. But from that point forward, there'll be a specific discussion board rubric, and I've made a video about that and posted that you can take a look at to see how that will be graded. Alright, so that would be the course schedule. We talked about the Begin Here section, announcements, the syllabus you can get to by following this link. You can click on it and download it. If you haven't already read the syllabus, I would strongly recommend that you do so. I do tend to repeat myself in the syllabus and under some of the introductory material because I want to make sure that you get that information, but it is still very valuable to read it as well as hear it. Now, the course materials, this is where you're going to spend most of your time. Now, this is currently in the professor mode, so the edit mode, so you can kind of see the future weeks that are not available yet. If I turn that off, it'll look more like what you would see in class. So what you're going to see is the weeks that are available to you. So I tend to have, as you'll see here, at least 2 weeks open at a time. And that's so you can work ahead if you need to, because remember, I don't accept any late work, so this gives you plenty of time to get your coursework done. So let's look under week 1. Week 1, you'll see this repeated kind of over, but at the beginning you're going to have a Steps for Success section. And this first week is really long, and I'm sorry it's so long, but there's just a lot of material to go over the first week. So do read through this. There's going to be an overview of what to expect each week. So each week's going to have a devotion, a Steps for Success, an instructor's insight area, a lecture area, lecture quiz, lab assignment, lab quiz, and then a discussion. You might also have an exam, depending on if there's an exam that week or not. So what I do in these Steps for Success is I go through and basically give you what you need to get done that week kind of in order. So under this first week, it talks about going under the Begin Here section and watching the videos and reading the syllabus, and then the devotional will be kind of the next thing. And then watch the introductory videos for the chapters that are assigned, which for this first week are chapters 1 and 2. Then you print off the study guides and work through them as you read the chapters. Then you can review the PowerPoint lectures, and then once you're comfortable with the material, then you should take the lecture quiz. After you've done that, there are 2 labs to get done, the measurement lab and the microscope and cell lab. Once you finish the labs, you take the lab quizzes, and then you can worry about the discussion topic as well. Now remember, the first post needs to be done before midnight on Thursday, kind of for future weeks. So do kind of go down here and read about the discussion post. Don't wait till the end of the week to do this, because you want to get that first one done before midnight on Thursday. And I put a note here, the deadline for these assignments is Saturday, June 14th, because I'm not going to have anything due the first 2 weeks until kind of the end of that second week. But from that point forward, all the deadlines will be midnight on Saturday, the week of the assignment. Alright, so the devotional will be next, typically, and then an instructor insight area where I have some videos that you can watch, and then you can download the PDF documents, the study guides, to work through as you read the chapters. The PowerPoint lectures are going to be down here as well. You can click on the links to view those. Those are standard for all of the classes. And then you've got your quiz that you can take whenever you're ready. You only get 1 attempt, so just make sure that you take that whenever you're actually ready for it. Lab assignment, if you've got 2 assignments, then they'll both be here. So the first lab assignment, the first lab quiz, the second lab assignment, and the second lab quiz are listed there. And then the discussion is listed down here, as well as some additional resources. The additional resources section, you don't have to watch all of these videos, but it may be helpful to you to do so. I use podcasts from Mr. Anderson, who's an AP biology teacher. He has some great podcasts, so I use a lot of those. Or just other animations or videos that are meant to help you as you learn the material for the course. So let's scroll back up. The class email is going to be how you send and receive messages. So you can create a message to email me. I'll send out emails sometimes as well. You can click on the discussion board link to actually get to the discussion boards, and they'll be listed. And that's pretty much what you're going to need to know to work through the class. So hopefully that will be helpful to you if you have never had an online class, kind of get you oriented there. You can certainly email me if you have any questions, or you can ask the help desk at DBU as well. I think they're on call pretty much all the time.